Welcome to Revolution Report, the show that highlights pressing issues, uplifts community voices, and questions the status quo. I'm Sarah Livings-Walsh.
And I'm Analisa, Venolia.
We felt the need to dive deeper into societal problems and explore subjects from diverse perspectives. So join us in the revolution. In this episode of Revolution Report, we're going to discuss the arrests of protesters across the country, but primarily in LA and D.C. And we're going to discuss jury nullification, what it is, how to do it, and important things to know.
An important disclaimer. We're not giving any legal advice.
No, we are not.
This information is purely educational, and we think people should be informed of their rights.
Before we get into it, we wanted to remind everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're a growing station, and it would really help us out.
Now, this information is important, and not a lot of people know their rights as a juror, so let's get right into it.
Perfect. As our longtime listeners will know, there have been many protests in LA against the tyrannical actions of the Trump administration. Multiple citizens have been arrested for their actions while protesting, despite many cops and ICE agents themselves violating the law as they enforce the inhumane and deplorable goals of Trump.
Protests have also recently erupted in D.C. in response to the very fascistic displays of military strength in their streets. Nearly 2,300 National Guard troops have been deployed in Washington, D.C. to supposedly crack down on crime. They're supposedly going to be deployed there for 6 months.
What a waste of government spending. What a waste. This is insane.
Also, that just feels like a military occupation to have the National Guard troops there for that long.
Yes, it's brute force. Absolutely. It is unnecessary. It's inhumane. These are the actions of someone who is losing power. This is a desperate grasp at power that he feels is no longer going to be there soon.
Yeah, like gotta show up big.
Correct.
To make myself feel big.
It is one giant overcompensation.
And boy, what a compensation it is.
Yes, and in even scarier news, Trump's team announced on August 22nd that the troops will soon be armed with M17 pistols and allowed to carry out law enforcement duties. When I read that and when I came across that, I was in disbelief.
I am afraid that in the coming months, this is just speculation. This is not an accusation. I am afraid that people are going to die.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you are carrying a gun, when you are pointing a gun, when you have a gun on you, you shoot to kill. You don't carry around a gun for a display. You carry around a gun to kill.
Yeah.
And that is something that we need to keep in mind as this tyrannical administration continues with their gross overcompensation.
Absolutely. And I'm sure all our listeners know, but just a reminder, this is happening to the American people on American soil in our nation's capital.
Yeah.
The mayor of D.C. has come out and said crime was already going down.
Yes, there were crime reports that crime actually went down. So the blatant display of grotesque and just brute force is so unnecessary, and it's to simply make a little man feel big.
Yeah. And as a result of all of this absolute nonsense, there have been protests in D.C. Now, we're going to focus on a particularly amusing, in our opinion, instance of individual protest just for a second.
On August 10th, a now fired Department of Justice employee decided to express his anger at the presence of the National Guard in D.C. in a unique way. After encountering some troops outside of Sorry. After encountering some troops outside of the Subway sandwich shop he had just exited, he yells that they are not welcome in the city.
He then throws his Subway sandwich at the chest of one of the National Guard members. Mind you, they're all wearing bulletproof vests. That's not going to do anything. For his actions, the former DOJ employee has been charged with felony assault.
I have never seen in the law assault with a deadly sandwich. I have never seen it. I've seen assault with a deadly weapon, but I didn't know that a Subway sandwich was a deadly weapon.
As someone who has worked at Subway.
Yes, go off, queen.
I worked at Subway for around 2 years in undergrad.
Yeah.
I know how Subway sandwiches feel. I know their heft. One could say that I am an expert on a Subway sandwich.
I love this. Please keep going.
I can attest that a Subway sandwich getting thrown, sure, it might be surprising. You know?
You may go, oh!
Absolutely. It may be surprising, you know? It is, sure, it's still something getting thrown at another person.
Yeah, you know.
But what it's not gonna do is cause harm. You know? What it's not gonna do is injure someone. 9 times out of 10, that bread is soft as heck. Actually, I would probably say 19 times out of 20, because we tend not to overbake the bread over there. And even if the bread was a little crunchy, that bread crumbles so easily.
With a bulletproof vest.
Yes! Oh no! You know? Not the Subway sandwich, a weapon that can absolutely pierce through Kelvar. No!
Yeah, no, all I want to know, though, is what did he get?
No, truly. Was it a club? Was it a turkey sandwich?
Anyway. Over 100 protesters have been arrested so far in D.C., and at least 71 people in L.A. are facing criminal charges for protesting ICE raids.
Across the country, the number of arrests will only grow, as Trump has now declared his intention to send the National Guard to Chicago and has mobilized the National Guard in 19 states. Those states are Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wyoming.
That news should be deeply concerning to any American who claims to believe in democracy. With the National Guard deploying in nearly half the states, does that seem like a democracy or blatant fascism?
I know what it seems like to me.
Absolutely.
And if any of our listeners are new and might think that we are crying wolf with the fascism, we recommend you go check out one of our previous episodes, America the Fascist, question mark, where we lay out all the ways in which the Trump administration actually is meeting the hallmarks of fascism.
Yes, and I predicted this, I believe, a couple months ago when he started deploying national troops in LA. I said that this is just an excuse to enact martial law.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looking like that is coming true.
Yeah, I mean, 19 states, not including California, where they already are?
Yeah. No, and it is not an exaggeration. I don't even know what to say at this point. I feel like we are constantly talking about these issues every week, essentially. And I know it may not seem like things are getting better, and I understand that. But this is a sign that it's the death rattle.
Yeah.
It's the death rattle.
And people also are fighting back, which brings us to our next topic. Now, let's talk about jury nullification for no reason at all.
Yes, no reason at all. To kick off this discussion, this is not legal advice. I want to repeat, this is not legal advice. We're simply informing you of your rights as a juror and speaking out about jury nullification for the purpose of education. Again, this is not legal advice.
Now let's start at the beginning. Jury duty is important. Along with voting, it's one of the most important duties of a citizen here in the United States. As a juror, you can have a lot of power to determine how or if justice is served. So, even though it may be a slog, it's really important.
Now that we've established that, what is jury nullification? If you've made it through the juror selection process, jury nullification is something not a lot of people know about. But we feel at Handball Court Radio, it's essential to keep in mind.
Absolutely. According to the Fully Informed Jury Association, jury nullification occurs when a jury returns a not guilty verdict, even though jurors believe beyond reasonable doubt that the defendant has broken the law. Because the not guilty verdict cannot be overturned, and because the jurors cannot be punished for their verdict, the law is said to be nullified in that particular case.
Now, that might sound wild. Why would a jury do that if they know the law was broken? Why would they go against the instructions they receive from the judge? Because they believe either the law is unjust, its application is unjust, the penalties would be unfair, or maybe there is a mitigating circumstance that applied to the case. For example, a jury delivered a not guilty verdict for a man who admitted to beating up a man who abused him when he was a child.
With everything that's been going on, jury nullification just might be something to keep in mind. Again, this is not legal advice. We're just talking here.
Yes, jury nullification doesn't need to happen on a large scale. With all the jurors refusing to convict, a single juror refusing to say guilty will lead to a hung jury, and the case will be forced to be declared a mistrial.
Should someone want to implement jury nullification, there are some things that they should keep in mind.
Number 1, do not, we repeat, do not speak about jury nullification to any other juror. Don't mention it in the selection process, any views that might get you kicked off the jury, and don't mention anything that could get you kicked off the jury and swapped out for an alternate. Jury nullification will only work if you do not mention it.
Good advice, Sarah. Number 2, judges and lawyers may tell you that jury nullification is not an option and illegal. They are legally allowed to tell you this, but it doesn't mean that it's true. Don't believe them. Hold firm if you believe that the defendant, even if guilty, should be free.
Number 3, you cannot be prosecuted for jury nullification. So if that was a fear of yours, you're fine. As long as you don't say that's what you're doing. Jurors cannot legally be punished for their verdicts, and not guilty verdicts from jurors cannot be overturned. Just a reminder, don't say that you're planning on ignoring the judge's directions on practicing jury nullification. You can't nullify the jury if you've been replaced with an alternate.
Gotta be strategic.
Yeah.
Number 4, you cannot legally be removed from a jury for saying that you think a defendant isn't guilty. And you don't have to explain your vote as a juror.
There are only 2 steps to practice jury nullification. Get on a jury and vote not guilty. That's all you need to do. Easy to remember. And just be intentional to not reveal any beliefs that might get you kicked off a jury. Don't talk about not believing in the justice system. Don't share any possible radical beliefs. You may have to misrepresent your ideals, but you must get on that jury.
Exactly right. Maybe think of it as being like an undercover spy if you want to make a game out of it in your head.
Oh, a game with the judicial system.
Sorry, judicial system. Now, unfortunately, jury nullification doesn't mean that the defendant can't be retried. In theory, a person can't be tried for the same crime twice due to laws against double jeopardy. But the courts have structured those laws in such a way that a hung jury just continues the original state of jeopardy, which means that a defendant could be retried.
However, this does not mean that jury nullification is pointless.
Speak on it.
There's not a guarantee that a defendant will be retried. But if they are, jury nullification can be an important reminder that we, the people, don't need to roll over and take what the government is doing.
Mm-hmm.
We can fight back. And who's to say that there couldn't be a future jury nullification for that retrial?
That's so true. For anyone who wants to learn more about jury nullification or juror rights, we'll include links to resources on our website, handballcourtradio.com. Being an informed juror is important, and we hope that whenever you're next called up for jury duty, that you feel a bit more empowered and knowledgeable.
One last obligatory, this is not legal advice. It's not. We just think that this is information everyone should be aware of.
Mm-hmm. That's about it for this episode. We hope it was informative.
As always, you can check out our website, handballcourtradio.com. You can also follow us on Blue Sky at Handball Court Radio. And you can also follow me there at Sarah Livings-Walsh.
I'm there as Not Like Mona Lisa. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss our content. And don't forget to rate, review, and follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And with that, I'm Sarah Livings-Walsh.
I'm Analisa Venolia.
And this has been Revolution Report.
Well,